Look out! Here comes a rather malnourished Spider-Man. Today we're going to be having a look at the new released Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is the web crawler himself, Spider-Man. Before we get a closer look at the figure, let's figure how tall this Spider-Man stands. So we'll take the tape measure right up to the top of his head. That's about right. The figure stands exactly 6 inches in height. In centimeters, that would translate itself out to 15.4 centimeters. He does come with an accessory, and that being this kind of web shooter. I don't know if, I guess it's supposed to be intentional that they've hollowed out the interior just to save cost on plastic, but it's simply just something that you clip onto Spider-Man's wrist. I guess in theory it could fit on either one of his wrists, but this one being the web shooting hand makes more logical sense that you would want to attach it there. And you just simply attach it just thus like that. It's okay. I mean, it's, at the very least, it looks pretty neat in the way it was sculpted. But it does make the figure very hard to stand. The figure is already very hard to stand because he's got these really narrow feet. Very long, but very narrow feet. But putting then the weight of a web shoot, like the actual webbing on the end of his hand, the figure does topple over way too frequently. There's really very little clearance as well that you can do with the actual legs to compensate for the fact that he's now got this extra weight standing in front of him, or attached to the front of him. Sure, you could use display stands, as of course he does have pickles on the undersides of his feet. Here's just one of the stands. Doesn't come with the figure, mind you. And I suppose you could do it like that, but I mean, that's only a fix if you happen to have a display stand. If the figure had such problems standing with factoring in something like this attached to his forearm, I wish they could have also included display stands as well, but that's wishful thinking. We'll go ahead and take this off of his arm, and we'll go ahead and take the display stand. We'll just put that to the side. We'll never speak of it again until the next time we need it. It's kind of like one of those heroes that come into town. Thank you, kind stranger. Be on your travels. Best wishes. Okay, so let's have a look at this Spider-Man. He is very interesting in his proportions. Very, very lanky, very long, very skinny. Just as a scale comparison, there is the Spider-Man from Into the Spider-Verse, and we'll just compare him to the one of the more recent Spider-Mans. This just so happens to be the Spider-Man from the Marvel Spider-Man cartoon. This one, of course, is a little bit on the shorter side, but you can really see that there is a considerable difference in proportions and overall mold, body mold that is, to one another. To the credit of this one, we'll talk a little bit, obviously, on that one a little bit more. To that one's credit, it does get a little bit more posability than the embarrassing posability that was on this figure, but we've already certainly had a look at that figure. You also have this web shooting thing. Yeah, we've already done that. We've covered off all the bases of that. So we'll just put him to the side. I don't know how I feel about this specific character, this figure of Spider-Man. Everything on him seems like it defies logic, or at least logically what I think Spider-Man should really be. I think of Spider-Man being a relatively thin character, yes, but I don't know if I would say to the proportions that they've translated here into figure form. He's got his traditional Spider-Man colors, and to the credit of the figure, things like the spider emblem here are actually lifted. They're raised from the rest of his body. They didn't simply slap some paint on there and call it a day. The front also has some nice detailing there on the front, but unfortunately all the webbing, for example, has no black panel lining. You're looking just at a really blank canvas. Sure, it's sculpted in there, but maybe a little bit of black paint filling in those little recessed areas, the little lines there, could have gone certainly a long way. Head sculpt's good. Very long. That seems to be like the common trend with all of this figure, is that everything on him is very, very long. His head sculpt I guess obviously his eyes are going to be up there, his nose is going to be right there, which makes then for a character who has a very elongated chin. Again, I guess that's the model, that's the design that they're going with this particular Spider-Man. He does have at least a ball joint in the head. That sort of goes without saying nowadays that most figures do tend to have ball jointed in the head. In fact, we can just pop the head off. That's exactly how it all comes together. That's the mechanics of a figure. But again, very long face. Pop that back into place. Like I said, he does have long legs, which I guess they work well enough, but for a character like this, you're really never going to be having him sitting. So if anything, you're always going to have the figure standing. I would have loved, certainly, knee articulation, but that seems to be like a joke word nowadays. We never want to put knee articulation into a lot of these Marvel heroes, because after all, their Marvel Legends has all their superposable options. Why would you possibly want to throw that into a Spider-Man figure like this? Not to say necessarily that leg articulation would have benefited this figure, but at the very least, I could feel like I could do a little bit more to him than what I can do with him currently. This is as much to the extent of what you can do with his legs. He can walk. And again, mileage varies depending on just for how thin his feet are. I can't believe how thin though and long those feet are. It does make for the figure being, like I said, extremely difficult to stand. Sure, he stands now, but you start putting in things like the webbing, forget about it. You can just forget about it. Posability though, his head rotates all the way around, hinges up and down, angles left and right. Arms hinge outward. So at the very least, they're thinking about that. You can at least bend the arms outward. Arms rotate all the way around. It's bend at the elbow, which also allows the forearm to rotate. Nothing in the waist, and the legs go back and forth. Not really sure how I feel about this figure. It caught me by sheer surprise when I went to Walmart picking up other things. I happened to, lo and behold, stumble into this one, and the Miles Morales, and I believe I picked up Prowler as well, so we're going to have a look at those in their own corresponding videos. Again, his proportions seem way off, but I guess that's the design that they're going with this particular Spider-Man. I guess I'm not as bothered by the fact that his legs and his body is so stretched out. I actually I feel as if it's his head that's throwing me off more than anything else. His head sort of looks like an alien head. Just a little bit like an alien head. The figures as a whole, these figures will set you back about $12. I think it was about $12 to $14, of course, factoring in some tax. I guess to the benefit of that, you get a little bit of an accessory happening there as well. Unfortunately, now it seems like superhero toys are going the route of, say, like the Transformers, really hollowing out, getting as much plastic out of something as we possibly can to save costs here and there. So for what it's worth, you do get yourself a little web shooting, but the figure does have the hardest of times actually being able to hold it. I can't really say I dislike this figure. In fact, the longer I seem to have it, the more I seem to warm up to the fact that the figure looks like this. His proportions are way out of whack, not something that you would traditionally expect to find with a Spider-Man. I know Spider-Man tends to be a little bit of a skinnier hero, but this is really taking that to the extreme. Elongated limbs, overly long feet, and of course a head that kind of looks like an alien. This is one of those Spider-Man that stand out, probably with the other Spider-Man that you have in your collection. Although somehow I dig it. I don't know why. I feel compelled to. Again, the longer and longer that I look at this figure, the more I actually enjoy it. It would be interesting to see what they would do then, based on these sort of design elements, what they'll do with characters such as some of the villains. Now again, this is based on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so I don't know how many characters we're actually going to get out of these. The only other figure that I saw on the back of the packaging, other than the three I already mentioned, the Miles Morales, the Spider-Man, and the Prowler, was also a Gwen Stacy. I hope we can also get some villains too, because it would be interesting. I'm tempted and curious as to this sort of design element, how this will translate to other figures. So color me curious. In the meantime, if you're curious to pick up these for yourself, they should be hitting store shelves now. I found these at Walmart. Today we were having a look at the new Hasbro Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This was Spider-Man looking like an alien. If you guys wanted to check out some more videos coming onto this channel, make sure you hit that little subscribe button down below. That is key. That is crucial. And of course, you can hit that bell notification. I don't really know if it actually works, but you can hit that bell notification to guarantee that when new videos are coming onto this channel, okay, who are we kidding? You can also swing by the homepage, 100% guarantee there. Scroll down all the sections of videos that you'll see there, and there's oodles and oodles and oodles of videos. There's probably about 8,000 videos. You may think I'm joking. I think I'm sitting at around 7,500 videos. Take that, other reviewers. 7,500 videos. There's a whole lot for you to check out. And the best way to make sure that you haven't missed out on any new videos that come to this channel or any previous videos is going to the home page, not the bell. Although you could hit the bell if you really want to, but I think the homepage is probably your better, safer bet. We're going to be having a look at the Miles Morales as well. We're going to be having a look at the Prowler. Oh no, I just gave it away. Yeah, you probably already knew that was going to be happening. We're going to be having a look at those guys in the next couple of videos, so stay tuned for that. As always, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.